Discovered a deceased female on the floor in an advanced stage of decomposition. Dead body to be in an apartment for a very lengthy period of time and not contact authorities. That raises a lot of concerns for us.
The autopsy uncovered a heartbreaking twist. The victim was 8 months pregnant. But the questions kept piling up. Who was she? Why hadn't anyone reported her missing? And what kind of monster could carry out such a vicious crime? Hey there, and welcome back. If you're just tuning in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Today's story is as chilling as it is tragic. A case that claimed 3 innocent lives and left investigators searching for answers in the dark. Let's dive in. It was a bitter December afternoon in 2022 when tragedy struck at a quiet gas station in Silver Spring, Maryland. Ayalew Wondimu, 61, was wrapping up what should have been a milestone, his final shift at Dash and Go, a Shell gas station convenience store on New Hampshire Avenue. A devoted husband, a man of deep faith, and a pillar of Maryland's Ethiopian Orthodox community, Wondimu had come to the U.S. in 2002 with dreams of a better life. After decades of hard work, he was ready to retire and spend his golden years with his family. But fate had other plans. At 2:58 p.m. on December 8th, a man walked into the store. At first, nothing seemed off. He grabbed a bottle of iced tea like any ordinary customer. But things quickly took a dark turn. An argument broke out between him and Wondimu over the iced tea. That simple disagreement escalated fast. The man started hurling items at Wondimu. In a desperate attempt to defend himself, Wondimu reached for a metal pole behind the counter and swung. Then the unthinkable happened. The customer backed away, pulled out a silver handgun, and fired, point blank. As Wondimu fell, the shooter climbed over the counter and kept firing, coldly, repeatedly. When he was done, he picked up his iced tea, walked out as if nothing had happened, and vanished into the streets. At 3:03 p.m., the police received the call. A simple workday had turned into a horrifying crime scene, and the community was left in shock.
December 8th, which was yesterday, at 3:03 p.m., the Montgomery County Police Emergency Communications Center received a call for a shooting.
When officers arrived on the scene, they were met with a devastating sight. Ayalew Wondimu lay collapsed behind the counter, his chest riddled with bullet wounds. The store, once filled with everyday routine, had become a scene of unimaginable violence.
Wondimu, an employee behind the cash register counter, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the chest. Wondimu was pronounced deceased on scene by Montgomery County Fire Rescue personnel.
Paramedics did everything they could, but it was too late. Ayalew Wondimu had already succumbed to his wounds. What was supposed to be the beginning of a peaceful retirement became the final chapter in his life. As detectives launched their investigation, they turned to the store's surveillance footage. Frame by frame, combined with witness accounts, they began piecing together the story. It didn't take long to identify the suspect, 31-year-old Torrey Damien Moore.
Moore was observed leaving the store and headed in the direction of the Enclave Apartments, which is across the street. Detectives from Major Crimes applied for and obtained an arrest warrant charging Torrey Moore, 31 years old, with first-degree murder and use of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime.
On December 9th, 2022, just one day after the deadly shooting, Authorities charged Torrey Damien Moore with first-degree murder and the use of a firearm in a violent crime. The store's surveillance footage was crucial. It didn't just capture the shocking act of violence, but also showed Moore's escape from the scene. As detectives followed his trail, it led them straight across the street to the Enclave Apartments. Moore had been living just steps away from where the crime unfolded. Due to the brutal nature of the crime, authorities didn't take any chances. A SWAT team was deployed to carry out a no-knock search warrant at Moore's apartment. With this type of warrant, officers are authorized to enter without announcing themselves, ready to move fast and with force to neutralize any potential threat.
His front door was completely smashed in. SWAT had served a no-knock warrant.
Torrey Moore was taken into custody at his apartment without incident. During the search, officers recovered a Jimenez Arms semi-automatic handgun, a weapon that would soon become a key piece of evidence in the case.
Moore was taken into custody without incident. Items of evidence, to include a 9mm handgun, were located and seized by detectives.
But what investigators discovered next was more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Hidden in the shadows of the apartment, lying lifeless on the floor, was the severely decomposed body of a woman. The remains were so far gone, nearly mummified, that immediate identification was impossible. The body was transported to the Montgomery County office of the chief medical examiner for a full autopsy.
When SWAT made entry, and after arresting Moore, they discovered a deceased female, believed to be an adult, on the floor in the apartment in an advanced stage of decomposition.
Floor in an advanced stage. Floor in an advanced stage. Floor in an advanced stage. Floor.
A 26-year-old female who was 8 months pregnant.
Despite Denise Middleton suffering 7 gunshot wounds, no one reported hearing anything unusual on the day she was killed. For weeks, Torrey Moore lived in the apartment with her decomposing body just feet away, and no one knew. Even more baffling, her family never filed a missing person report. Surprisingly, there were no formal complaints about the smell coming from Moore's unit. One resident, Tony Pineda, recalled being hit with a horrible stench near the elevator outside Moore's door, but assumed it was just garbage left out too long. Another neighbor, Leah Kemp, said she had reported foul odors in the hallway, but all she received in response was a generic letter from Enclave Apartments management. We will be launching a new property management software system and a new resident portal. The resident portal will no longer be available.
But I did give a call on Monday just to ask if they were going to put out a statement or anything. They told me to contact the local police department, and they weren't going to put anything out about it. I think that is crazy because our portal to make requests has been down for 2 months. So even if there were requests, they could have just gone unnoticed or have not been documented.
For weeks, residents endured an unbearable, unsettling smell wafting through the halls. Yet no one knew that just down the corridor, the lifeless body of a decomposing mother lay hidden, her tragic fate concealed behind the walls of an apartment. Denise Jenna Middleton was born on March 14, 1996. In 2022, while carving out a career as a professional hairdresser in Silver Spring, she crossed paths with Torrey Moore, and together they began building a life at the Enclave Apartments. Her future seemed full of promise, especially when she discovered she was pregnant with a baby boy. She chose the name Ezekiel for her son, inspired by the archangel, a symbol of strength, protection, and faith. Her dreams of motherhood were full of hope and excitement, but tragically those dreams were shattered when her life was violently taken by the one person she trusted the most, Torrey Moore. The autopsy report revealed the horrifying truth. Middleton had been shot 7 times, the same gun that would later be used to murder Ayalew Wondimu. Medical experts estimated her death occurred sometime in October 2022, more than a month before her body was discovered.
Wounds.
A forensic pathologist examined the child at the time of the autopsy and determined that the 8-month-old child was in fact viable at the time of his mother's death.
The timing of Denise Middleton's death made her loss even more heartbreaking. Had she survived just a few more days, her baby boy might have been born into the world she dreamed of. To make matters worse, the family was robbed of the dignified farewell she deserved. Due to the state of her body, her remains had to be cremated, a painful blow for her loved ones who had hoped to give her a proper goodbye.
When we heard how badly decomposed her body was, it was just unbelievable to believe that we had been living our lives for that long and not knowing that she was dead.
Torrey Moore's criminal history was long, violent, and full of warning signs. Over the years, he had been charged with a range of offenses, including armed robbery, multiple assaults, both first and second degree, kidnapping, drug trafficking, and the unlawful possession of a loaded handgun. These charges spanned years, revealing a dark and dangerous side to Moore that few had fully understood. One of the most significant incidents was a charge for aggravated assault, filed by none other than Denise Middleton herself. In June 2022, Middleton reported to the police in Norfolk, Virginia, that Moore had attacked her. Her cousin later told authorities that, in their last conversation, Middleton had fled to New York in an attempt to escape Moore's abusive grip. Even with these efforts to break free, Moore's control over Denise was unrelenting. Friends and family remember how, in the months before her tragic death, Denise had become increasingly isolated, withdrawn, and reluctant to talk about her relationship. As investigators dug deeper into Moore's past, another disturbing revelation emerged. Moore was legally prohibited from owning a firearm due to his previous convictions. So how had he come into possession of the weapon used in the murders of both Denise and Ayalew? Court records also showed that Moore had active assault charges against him, and multiple complaints had been filed for his erratic, violent behavior. Despite this, Moore had somehow evaded serious consequences for his actions, which left Denise's family and the community questioning how someone with such a dangerous history was allowed to remain free. With Moore's violent past now fully exposed, detectives became even more determined to bring justice to both Denise and Ayalew. Authorities moved quickly to push the legal proceedings forward, and Torrey Moore was scheduled to stand trial on Monday, December 12, 2022. Initially charged with the murder of Ayalew Wondimu, Moore now faced additional charges for the deaths of Denise Middleton and her unborn child. In light of the horrific circumstances, a charge of violence against a pregnant person was also added to his list of offenses. After his arrest, Moore was taken to the Montgomery County Police Headquarters, where he was informed of his Miranda rights and questioned. During the interrogation, Moore admitted to visiting the convenience store, arguing with Wondimu, and ultimately shooting him. However, when it came to Middleton's death, Moore initially denied his involvement. Although he had confessed to killing her earlier, his first admission was ruled inadmissible because it was made before he had been read his rights. Moore changed his story, claiming he went to New York City to bring Middleton back to Maryland. He referenced a vandalism report from May 12, 2022, to explain his trip, saying he left for New York shortly after reporting the incident to the police. Surveillance records confirmed his claim about the vandalism report. After returning from New York, Moore said he and Middleton went out to pick up food. On the day of the murder, though he didn't specify the exact time, Moore recalled an argument that escalated as they returned to the apartment. He claimed that during the argument, he pushed Middleton down in front of the building, and she reacted as though he was trying to kill her. He ordered her to get up and stop putting on a show. According to Moore, Middleton stayed visibly upset as they entered the apartment. He admitted that a slap was probably thrown and I probably choked her a little bit. Afterward, Moore said they went to the bedroom where he tried to calm her down. He then left the apartment to buy marijuana. About an hour later, he returned to find Middleton unresponsive. When investigators asked him about gunshot wounds or other visible injuries on Middleton's body, Moore claimed he wasn't sure. He reiterated that Middleton was pregnant with his child, a boy due in October. Despite all of Moore's denials, the evidence against him, including witness statements and physical evidence, painted a clear picture of his involvement in both murders. Police and prosecutors had gathered substantial proof, making it nearly impossible for Moore to escape the charges. Torrey Moore's first court appearance took place on December 12, 2022, at the District Court in Rockville, Montgomery County, where the public was waiting for swift justice. However, Moore's defense team threw a wrench in the proceedings by requesting a mental health evaluation. After reviewing the findings from the Office of Court-Ordered Evaluations and Placements within the Department of Health, Judge Amy Bills made a shocking ruling. Moore was deemed unfit to stand trial at that time.
Not competent to stand trial, and was also a danger to himself or to others.
The request for a mental health evaluation temporarily halted the legal process, leaving the victims' families frustrated and desperate for closure. Torrey Moore made additional court appearances on December 15th and December 19th, 2022, each time focused on determining his mental fitness to stand trial. At every hearing, Moore was deemed unfit. State's Attorney John McCarthy expressed deep concerns, stressing that Moore could pose a serious danger to himself and others if released back into the community. As a result, Moore was denied bond and held in police custody.
It's important to note that he is not free in the community. He is being held without bond because of the dangerousness, even though it's still pending as an evaluation for competency.
Moore's request to be released under pre-trial supervision was also shot down. In an emotional interview, Middleton's cousin shared her frustration, saying, "I believe that when things became too overwhelming for him, he came here to get caught. It seems like he was trying to go out with a bang and didn't know what to do with her body. I hope justice comes swiftly for Torrey Moore. He is not incompetent. I don't believe he's unfit to stand trial. He was able to tell the cops exactly what he did to her and why." As news of Moore's alleged incompetency spread, the public reacted fiercely on social media and local news outlets, expressing their anger and disbelief. Many questioned how someone with Moore's violent history and overwhelming evidence against him could be considered unfit for trial, fearing that he might escape justice. While the court understood these concerns, Maryland law requires a thorough evaluation of competency. Incompetency assessments look at whether a defendant understands the proceedings and can actively participate in their defense. Although the delays were frustrating, the court had a legal duty to ensure Moore's rights were upheld, no matter the severity of his alleged crimes. After the ruling, Moore was placed in a mental health facility for treatment. By 2023, he was finally deemed fit to stand trial. On May 16, 2024, 33-year-old Torrey Damien Moore was found guilty of first-degree murder, using a gun in the commission of a violent crime, and illegal possession of a firearm in the killing of Ayalew Wondimu. Moore now faces life in prison in connection with the shooting and is scheduled for sentencing on December 12, 2024. Meanwhile, Middleton's murder trial is set for November 18, 2024. As the community waited for the next steps in Moore's case, Middleton's family held on to hope that justice would prevail. They knew the road ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but they were determined to honor Middleton's memory and protect their community's future. What do you think? Can Moore's mental state allow him to escape justice? Will he be held accountable for the death of Middleton and their unborn child? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to share in the comments, and if there is a case you'd like us to cover, let us know. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.